It's not until we reach the end of a long road that we can look back and see a full picture of how winding and rocky it might have been. Like that old saying, hindsight is 20/20. It's true. It's not just a meaningless turn of phrase to flippantly throw out when we need to make ourselves feel better. It's not until you walk that mile or cross that bridge that you can see what mistakes you've made. 9 times out of 10, you chalk it up to a learning experience. Put your head down and drive on, brother. But sometimes you can't drive on. Sometimes you reach the end of your rope. You make it to the front of the line and are just waiting to punch that last ticket to go home. And it's only then that you can look back and see what a mess you've made to get there. I was there, in Hawaii, back in '86. I was there for that failed push into Oahu with Bravo Company. It was a meat grinder. The Ruskies were dug in like ticks. Their sappers had time enough that they could turn Waipahu into a fucking killing field. Half the buildings had been scooped out, turned into batteries for their tanks. The other half were pillboxes bristling with PKs. We couldn't storm them. We couldn't starve them out. I watched our colonel take a sniper round just above his chin. In an eye blink, that Ivan turned a brave man with 25 years of service and a spotless record into meat. Chunky gumbo. I couldn't forget it if I wanted to. War was a bust. After months of fighting and dying, after watching fresh-faced boys come in, only to meet God days later in some dried-out, sun-soaked tropical paradise from hell, Moscow and DC bellied up to the bar and hashed out their differences like gentlemen. It was a joke, a bad fucking pantomime with no punchline. How could there have been peace with the Ruskies after what they did to us? How could I sleep at night when every time I closed my eyes, all I saw was my colonel staring up into a blazing Hawaiian sky with only half his face? The other half a mangle of spurting arterial blood, shattered bone, and strings of gray matter. How was I supposed to ever sleep again, knowing that my president crawled into bed with the red devils that turned so many men and boys I knew the faces of into that? Didn't matter. Army couldn't have cared less. Sergeant Jones was going home. He'd seen enough war. You served your country well, Sarge. Here's your pension. Bad knees, a pretzelized back, and a lifetime of waking nightmares. Thank you for your service. Looking back, it all felt like a nightmare. A horrible dream I couldn't wake up from. But then you stare into your own eyes in the mirror, snap back to reality, and see the newspaper next to your sink. Miami Herald. Date, May the 10th, 1989. The moment is broken by a clanging klaxon. And for a second, you're back in the goddamn jungles of Oahu, and the air sirens are going off. But it's not a Soviet bombing run. It's your phone. You're not dreaming, Jones. You're very much awake and you have a job to do. The answering machine caught it like it usually did, but I could hear the voice on the other end, even as I splashed cold water into my eyes in an effort to wake up.
This is Dennis from Miami-Dade Plumbing. We've got a backup at Southwest 104th. Need you to go clear the system out. Left your tools on site. Just make sure you're quick and professional. Don't bother the neighbors.
That was that. All you ever got with these damn people. An address and a warning to be quiet and clean. God help you if you blew them off. It didn't matter. After what I did in Hawaii, these little errands couldn't bother me. It was better than sleeping anyway. Anything was better than closing my eyes and suddenly being back in Waipahu. 104 Southwest. That was the house. A 2-story mini mansion. Cars were parked out front. Lights were on. Music was playing. At least one dog was barking. And sure enough, my toolbox was there waiting for me. I knew it was mine. It had their seal on it. Red circle, 3 red horizontal slashes. Inside was a green boiler suit, a crowbar, and my face for the masquerade. Big, green, toothy, scaly. When you're up to your neck in alligators, it's hard to remember that you came to drain the swamp. Time to get to work. From the moment I set foot on the front porch, heard the rough pack-a-day Russian gibberish being spoken inside, everything after was a blur. I remember kicking the door in and hurling my crowbar at the first moving thing I saw, a man who fell to the ground instantly. Picking up my tool of the trade in one hand, I used the other to slam his nose into the hardwood floor before bashing him across the ground. His skull cracked open like an egg. I was already on my feet and charging for the room directly behind me. Another was stepping out of a side room, baseball bat in hand, a warning on his lips, before I tackled him to the ground and slashed him across the temple with the hook of the crowbar. Eye socket ripped away. He screamed and clawed at the exposed mess where his faceplate used to be. If they didn't know I was there yet, they did now. I stood and turned just in time to catch their dog by the throat mid-lunge, only a heartbeat away from my throat. Doberman, Rottweiler. Funny what sort of thoughts go through your head in those kinds of moments. Couldn't think about that now, not with a snapping mongrel inches from my face. I twisted and smashed the snarling beast's head into the wall, silencing it with a final yelp and whimper. I moved too slow though. The next thing I felt was a blinding flash of pain and connection with the cold wooden floor. Shotgun, judging by the ringing echo in my ears and the spray of white hot fire across my back. I heard a voice behind me.
Yashuritsa Urod,
It said contemptuously. No idea what it meant. I couldn't think about that right now. I could barely think at all. The world was spinning, a kaleidoscope of agony and swimming colors. Was I in Miami or back on Oahu? Was this what all those boys felt like? Their final moments falling away under the hot Hawaiian sun? I was crawling on my stomach, crowbar in one hand. Now I really was an alligator. It was all a dream. It had to be. I was an alligator, dreaming I was human. And any second I would wake up from this nightmare of Russians and cryptic phone calls.
Прокончи Diego.
One of the voices behind me said,
Нет.
suggested another.
Yashuritsi ползут обратно в Diego. Канализация.
They both laughed. One of them opened the door for me, pulled the crowbar from my hand, dragged me to a manhole in the street. Next thing I know, I was sitting down there. Alligators in the sewer. Not a myth anymore. It's not until you reach the end of your road that you can look back and see where it all went wrong. It's not until you wake up that you realize you were dreaming. I know that now. This whole thing, just a bad dream. The Russo-American War, Hawaii, Bravo Company. Watching all of those boys and girls get turned into stacks of cold bodies that not even Uncle Sam could care about. None of that could be real. It couldn't have really happened. I get it now. All that's happened. It's just a dream. It's all just a bad dream, isn't it? I feel my breath rattle in my chest probably for the last time. The mask slips from my fingers. I wouldn't need it once I woke up anyway. It was all just a bad dream. I knew it.